Welcome back. It's Tim and Julie Harris. And of course, this is Friday, and this is the day that we have a free-for-all day where we talk about whatever is on our mind. And being that we're real estate coaches, a lot of times we do talk about real estate, but what we're going to be sharing with you guys today are a lot of other fun points. We're talking about AI. We're talking about the importance of knowing how to do in-person, face-to-face types of meetings. We're going to really break through a lot of the fear and loathing that's, I think at this point, really building about AI. The real estate industry on a whole is usually, it's interesting, real estate as a thing is usually fast to new technological opportunities because real estate's so competitive. So competition brings out the best in industries and brokerages and individual agents, making it so that they're not going to get left by the wayside as technology speeds by. And you've seen that happening since, the dawn of pay-per-click, really. It's crazy. So one of the things that real estate agents are really being, I think, surprised by right now in a very meaningful way is how fast AI is usurping, if not replacing, a lot of the things that have been relatively consistent lead generators for agents, generally, passive lead generators. But all that stuff is essentially being oversaturated. And I'll give you guys a good example. Julie and I were just on a leadership meeting with eXp Realty. As you probably know, we've been with eXp Realty since 2019, one of the best business decisions we ever made. A lot of you are going to be looking to upgrade your brokerage experience, especially after you listen to what we have to say today about AI, because you're going to realize your brokerage is essentially obsoleting itself right in front of you. But what we were talking about on that mastermind, on that leadership call, was really the fact that agents who've been building their businesses on SEO, on social media, on lots of videos, on all the things that you guys have been doing in earnest for, going on 15 years now, a lot of those things are not becoming obsolete in the sense that, well, no one's ever going to do it again or use it again, but they're becoming so oversaturated. And the story that someone told was there was an agent that had, been all the way focused on the creation of all the passive lead generation stuff, done tons of videos, done tons of SEO, spent probably millions of dollars building this online presence. And when you went to search for them, they were really fantastic with placement. They're coming up usually at the top. Now, remember, they're doing pay-per-click, so they're probably coming up at the top for pay-per-click. But they've noticed about 90 days ago, 120 days ago, a big drop-off in all their new leads, all the leads. So they had built all these different lead funnels, and all these lead funnels were essentially drying up. And they figured, well, it must have been interest rates, must have been this, must have been the other thing. But now it's just getting worse. And then they started doing a little bit more investigating. They actually used AI to find out why their systems weren't working as well as they had in the past. And by the past, I mean less than 6 months ago. And the answer is because AI was creating for their competitors all the things that had been their competitive advantage for essentially half a generation, for 15 years. And what do I mean by that? They're using AI to create mountains of Instagram. The competition was now creating mountains of Instagram posts, mountains of videos, mountains of social media. It was creating all kinds of different things to really make, and it wasn't just one competitor. So in their market, they maybe have 25 or 50 different competitors that are now all creating the same level, if not higher level quality of social media and all this sort of searchable stuff on Google that they were. And then what's even worse is the search engine. I want you to remember what I'm about to tell you. The search volume, or let me phrase it a different way. The number of people that are using Google, for example, for search has dropped like a rock. And I saw a graph on this, Julie. It was staggering how much people stopped using Google for search. And you and I have been talking about this since really the last 18 or 24 months, how we knew all this was going to happen. Yep. It just made sense. And we also said that we thought by the end of this year, agents that were dependent on social media and essentially creating unique content, how they were going to be the ones that were going to suffer the most because of AI. And if anything, we are definitely right, but we were not right in that it's happening faster than I thought it would. What are you thinking?
Well, what I was thinking as you were talking, yes, we've kind of been watching this as one of our stories that we watch and report on and try and predict as we do. And it seems like it's become like a leveling of the playing field, right? So if everybody is starting to look the same again, which is almost like a retro thing, like agents used to always look the same, so we have to have USPs, unique selling propositions, right? And now if I can look at what's making you get lots of searches and I can just do the same thing that you're doing, even having the same theme, possibly even the same script, what makes me different? I'm not different. I'm just like everybody else. So now agents can all be the same again, which made me think, does that mean that a USP now is going to be that, guess what, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I promise to meet you in person every time we have a meaningful conversation?
Well, but Julie, it's even worse than what you said because they're not having to say, I want to copy Tim and Julie Harris. They're saying AI in my marketplace. There's this, couple that sells a lot of real estate, and I want you to create a plan for me to essentially match or, beat what they're doing as far as presence online. And then I want you, and this is where people don't quite understand. I want you to then create it all for me. And then I want you to then create the profiles for me, set up the different, essentially the profiles on Instagram and whatever. Then I want you to actually publish the content. So that is where AI has gone. And it is exactly what Julie and I were suggesting was going to happen less than 2 years ago. And that's where that's the direction we're going with all this. And I wonder how many of you guys are listening right now that are actually, paying attention to all this happening. How many of you are listening right now or watching right now thinking, well, that's me. I've got a team. I've got a brokerage. I've got some, I've built this huge monster. I thought I had a moat around my business, right? And the moat was because when you go to searching and you look Kansas City, Missouri homes for sale in this particular neighborhood, I had this is, typical agent or brokerage thinking. I had created so much content. I have done so much with SEO. You go on Google, okay, I get it. And you're great, smart, go you for doing it. But now no one's going to Google. So what are you going to do? Well, why don't you go over to ChatGPT? Why don't you go to Gemini? Why don't you go to Grok? Why don't you go to Perplexity? Why don't you go and start doing your own searches and find out how different the search results are? Some of the search results are going to be the same. Like if you go to Gemini and you do a search, #1 real estate agent in Westerville, Ohio, or just something like that, you're probably going to get the same exact search results as you would have had you gone to Google because Google's owned by Gemini. But if you go over to Grok and then you put in more specific information. So for example, #1 listing or #1 real estate agent in Westerville, Ohio, who currently has homes for sale between this price and this price that are in these particular neighborhoods and all the rest of it. Because what's happening is that is how people are searching. Now, then what happens is that it's going to do a search. It's going to spit out some results for you. And then it's going to ask if it would like you to be connected with that agent. Would you like to set up a showing? Would you like, so it's, you guys get what's happening
and then
here?
get into that agent's schedule and schedule it for you. And maybe even there's a pre-qualification script that it is now auto-populating so that that agent knows who they're in front of. Things are happening very quickly. So my question to you is, what is an agent to do knowing all of this?
Well, first of all, you have to listen to our show every day because we're going to be telling you guys what you should be doing. And I'm not going to say it's early days, but I'm going to say you're right on time because you're going to be right on time to deploy a lot of the things that, frankly, just 6 months ago would have seemed magical that you would have never been able to afford to put in place. There's for example, I wrote some things down from that EXP meeting we went to. There's a website called Lovable. I was messing around with this a little bit during the meeting. Actually, I probably shouldn't have, but I was. And this is something, it's just like it sounds, LOV, able, right? And it essentially will create landing pages for you. It'll create single agent property websites. It'll create all kinds of different things. I messed with it a little bit. I wasn't that impressed, but I'm sure it's probably because I just was doing it for the first time and I could have gotten more efficient with it. And so here's something else interesting, Canva.ai. We've experimented with that before. That's fantastic. And just the AI tools that are going to be coming at us are going to be just extreme. So you're thinking to yourself, oh, great, more apps for me to pay for and more crap for me to learn, right? Well, I got great news for you. There's now something also called an AI agent. And this is an overarching AI that manages all the other AI. So an AI agent is, again, it's going to be like not just your business's brain, but it's going to be essentially a version of you, which is going to be able to instantly manage all this stuff. Like, so for example, Julie gave the example that someone goes to ChatGPT or Grok or whatever, and they do a property search, or it's a consumer and they're wanting to know very specific, I'm looking for this specific thing and this specific, and I want it to have a yard that's this size, da, 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 da. So it's doing it. Then the AI is then going to go to all the normal suspects, the Zillows and the Realtor.coms and the, all the places. And it's going to do the searching and it's going to show you the results of what's available. What does that do to Zillow? I think you guys could guess. What does that do to Realtor.com? What does that do to the agents that were buying their leads from Zillow and Realtor.com? Very quickly, those business opportunities for you guys to buy leads are going to be extinct. Julie's going to want me to reel this in and focus back in on what you can be doing, and I'll do that in a second. Again, this is all stuff we've been telling you guys for about 24 months when we saw where this was all going. So then what happens is then the AI is then going to ask you, do you actually want to have, do you want me to start doing these searches for you in real time? Like anytime something pops up that's a good match for you, or do you want me to just send you the results, once a week or however you want it to set up? And you're going to say, I want the information instantly. How do you want the information? Do you want it emailed to you? Do you want, some of these AIs are now able to email and text. So you get the point. You're now going to be able to have a AI that is going to be going into all the different search sites for you. If you're a buyer's agent and you've had a widget that does that for you, and that widget has been costing you money every single month, a CRM, for example, consumers are going to bypass those CRMs and they're going to effectively create their own property search portals. So if your hook on your fishing hook and your bait was essentially property information, agents or consumers could always go to realtor.com and whatnot before, but now the AI is going to do it. Now, how does it work from the brokerage side of things? So then the brokerage side of things, and this is the importance of being a listing agent. Hopefully you guys are understanding, because nowhere in this scenario did I say that, you're going to be searching for listings. You're not searching for buyers agents that represent buyers. You specified as a consumer, tell me about the listings that are in this particular neighborhood. That means listing agents, how long have Tim and Julie Harris been saying this, are going to have more an advantage now than they ever have before, because they're going to be getting all the search traffic because of AI. So the AI then is going to sync up with that agent's agent. Don't get all these words confused, but the agent's going to have an agent that will then take in that inquiry from that consumer about your listing lead, and then it's going to get into your schedule. It's going to then pre-qualify for you in your own voice that buyer lead, and it's going to start messaging. Or, and this is the freaky part, I want you to think about what I'm about to say, because this is whack, but it's true. It's going to call the person and it's going to ask the person in your voice in an indistinguishable way their pre-qualifying questions, knowing what direction then to go with that buyer lead, whether the buyer, needs to go to a lender, whether the buyer is just a looky-loo, just getting ready to get started, whatever it is. The next layer of this, and I've been watching this and I haven't seen anything, frankly, I'm not impressed by yet, is that it's going to be able to give the consumer, it's going to try to text them, it's going to try to call them, and it's also going to try to video chat them. And when it video chats them, it's going to be you. You could also use a virtual assistant, a true virtual assistant, right? An AI virtual assistant to represent you. But the idea is that someone's going to FaceTime that person, and then it's going to ask them in a conversational way the pre-qualifying questions. How long you've been looking for a home? Have you seen anything you've liked while you've been looking? Those types of questions we teach you guys in Premier Coaching. That is where all this is going, and it's going to completely sync up with the listing agent, listing brokerage's business. So then what's going to then happen is the appointment's going to be set. The buyer's going to be pre-qualified. The buyer's already going to be working with the lender. All the moving parts that you're now having to juggle, and you're trying to sometimes coerce the buyer into following a proven path to accomplishing their dream of buying a home, through essentially, obviously, you need to go to a lender because you need a mortgage probably. Well, here's Larry, the lender, here's Bob, the lender, Lucy, the lender. And then the AI is then going to help the person pick out, well, it turns out you're a jumbo mortgage buyer. You have 40% down. You probably want to focus on this particular lender. You guys get it? Now, then I want you to, I know this is crazy, but this is happening right now. Your AI, or the AI that consumer set up, now it's connected with your AI, and your AI is pre-qualifying them. Then that buyer who needs a lender, who needs a mortgage, is then going to connect with the mortgage officer's lender. And Julie and I have had Angel AI on the podcast before. And what Angel AI does is it represents, it's owned by the guy who started, or his dad started, SunWest Mortgage. And so that is doing exactly as a normal lender would do. But the original consumer's AI is going to then converse with the AI of the lender. You're not going to have to do anything. The consumer's not going to have to do anything. And they're going to answer all your AI. Obviously, you're going to have to give it these inputs, let it know about your income, debt to ratio, whatever the information is. It's then going to pre-qualify, if not even pre-approve, the consumer to purchase the house, so that when the agent or the brokerage, the listing agent or the brokerage, gets that lead, They're actually going to have a fully pre-approved borrower. They know the motivation. If they do or don't have a house to sell, their equity situation. It's then going to have booked a listing appointment because it turns out they have a house to sell. I've actually sent a physical pre-listing pack. So you guys understanding what we're getting at here? So I was invited to be on a podcast for RedX actually, and they wanted to talk about teams. And I thought, well, that's a cute concept from the 1990s in the traditional sense, because AI is going to immediately replace most of what you guys are spending a lot of your profit on, as far as, teams and delegation and all these other things. It's going to be done for you. Now, I mentioned before this thing called an AI agent. And I said it's this ultimate AI that's going to overlay your business and personal life. And here's, I know I'm fire hosing you guys, but just bear with me because you should be excited about this because it's going to allow you to do the thing that you were probably, it's going to put you in a position where you can spend more time doing what you're best at, and you can step aside. So there's the old thing of working in your business and working on your business. And as your business grows, you're pulled to work on your business a lot more. That's where you're setting up your systems and your CRM and you're holding people accountable and you're doing all the checklists and whatnot. But now because of AI, your super agent's going to do all that for you. And the people that you have in place now that are doing a lot of this functionality are going to be replaced with AI. I want you to think about all this. In our own business, we used to have 3 customer service people. Now we have 1 customer service person, and she's now no longer doing frontline customer service. She's now going to be doing second-tier customer service because we're using Zendesk AI to essentially do first-tier customer service. We're still experimenting with it. We're training it, and it's brilliant how well it works. It sounds conversational, sounds like a real person. So that's going to put her in a position where she's going to be able to offshore the nickels, the meat and potato stuff, and she's going to be able to spend more time talking with students, more time helping to retain students, answer questions. Maybe before agents were getting frustrated because they couldn't find this form or that form on our website. Well, she's in the AI. If it's not able to do it, she's going to be able to do it personally. You guys getting conceptually what we're getting at here? So the AI super agent, what's going to happen is you're going to go to it and you're going to say, I am, Bob, and I have a real estate brokerage, and I have, these are my particular challenges and needs. And I want you to ask me now a bunch of questions about my real estate brokerage. And I'll tell you what my goal is. I want to be able to seamlessly hand off all the functionality, all the marketing, all the lead generation, all the social media, all the everything to you. I want to have it so that I don't really have to do anything other than talk to customers after they've been fully pre-qualified, go on listing appointments that have been fully pre-qualified, negotiate and close contracts. I want you to figure out how to create a business for me that does everything. Ask me questions so I know that we're on the same page. It's then going to write a bunch of questions. You're going to answer it. You could do it with your voice or just type in the answers. And then it's going to create a business system for you, and it's going to manage it. It'll create it. It's not just going to create it and say, here's your 7,000, page manual and your 3-ring binders, your stack of 3-ring binders. It's actually going to create it. It's going to say, this is the business model. And then you're going to tell it to implement it, and then it's going to implement it. So you're now going to have a team of marketing AI that's going to do all your social media marketing. You're going to have your team of transaction coordinators that's going to do your transaction coordination. You're going to have your team of pre-qualifiers. You're going to have your team of just listed and just sold prospectors that are going to start calling into a community. You guys understanding where we're going with this? So why is the real estate brokerage, why are real estate brokerages in general excited and fearful as hell about this? Because the concept of what I just explained to you guys is absolutely going to happen this year. Everything I just said is going to be in place. At what level of efficiency is yet to be determined. But I will 100% guarantee you this. Within 18 to 24 months of this date, which is May 16th, you're going to have a AI, a super agent, basically, that you're then going to employ. So you're going to decide which AI super agent you're going to want to work with. You're then going to have it create your entire business system for you. And so what does that leave you doing? Does that make you as an agent more valuable or less valuable? Will AI replace you, supplement you, or enhance you? That's the question every brokerage and team is asking themselves. And I'm telling you right now, if you're smart, if you're forward thinking, it's going to enhance you. I think what we're going to see, and this is really going to surprise people, we're going to see not just in real estate, but we're going to see more people making millions of dollars per year because of AI than we ever have before. I'm going to go on a tangent. I want you to just bear with me. Let's say you're a school teacher. And let's say you've always wanted to start your own business. It's, part of the American dream, right? To be your own business. You're then going to go to an AI agent and you're going to just tell the AI agent what you want to create, or ask it to ask you types of things that, you know, it knows that you might be interested in, that it also knows there might be a market for. And then you're going to say, okay, you know, you've now decided that you're going to want to drop ship from Germany cuckoo clocks, or Germany, right, Julie?
Yeah. It's probably going to tell you
Right,
that you
right.
could do this. It's
Right.
going to suggest to you that based on your interests, I would suggest that you do this.
Exactly. And then it's going to find the suppliers of whatever the product is. Let's just not say cuckoo clocks, but let's just say the Julie and I like cuckoo clocks. Of course we do. So the suppliers of whatever product, and then it will connect with the AI that's
After
essentially,
comparing costs and running some analysis and helping you make the right choice for who you're going to use to manufacture, for example.
or just buy, not even manufacture it.
Right.
And then what it's going to do is you're going to say, it's going to say, okay, would you like me to create a website for you to sell, you know, let's just stick with cuckoo clocks. All right, great. Now, would you like me to market it for you? Would you like me to create social media for you? Would you like me to create crap tons of short reels on Instagram and, you know, TikTok and all the others? Would you like me to? Yes, 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 yes. So now what you're going to have is, inside probably a few hours, you're going to have a turnkey cuckoo clock business that is able to do business with vendors in Germany or Poland or wherever these things are being made. And it's going to be able to drop ship from the manufacturer of the product. It's then going to go out into the marketplace and it's going to market for you your cuckoo clocks. And then when the cuckoo clock order comes in, it's going to do the transaction through Stripe probably. And then it's going to place the order with the manufacturer. The manufacturer is going to ship the product from Germany directly to the customer, and you're just going to make your margins. If there's a return, the return will go the opposite direction. And what have you just done? You're a school teacher. You know, you've now created a side hustle of a cuckoo clock business. Now, let's say it turns out cuckoo clocks was the word, it just isn't your jam, or doesn't work out, or maybe it does. It's doing good. It's creating $500, $600 net profit for you every single month. But now you just get another thing. I want to create, it doesn't matter, something else. Then you're going to end up doing the same thing for other products, other products, other products. And it's going to turn out that you're going to end up having this portfolio of 20 different businesses that your AI super agent created for you, that it manages for you, that it markets for you. This is the reason I'm saying that people are thinking about AI. If they're fearful, they're thinking about it all wrong. They're thinking, well, all these people are going to be without a job. No, they're going to
No, you're
create.
going to have 10 more jobs. You'll just be able to do them 10 times as efficiently.
Exactly. They're not going to be without jobs. They're going to, you know, whenever you hear somebody about getting fired, it's always sad because you feel scared for them and sad and the rest of it. But the truth is, and you guys have probably experienced this as well, the nice thing about any sort of change, whether it be forced or voluntary, is almost always whatever's on the other side of that is better than what you had. And so now knowing that AI is going to be coming to all of this and it's going to create all this different opportunity, that's how you got to at least try to think, because you won't be afraid of it anymore. Now, where does that lead you? If you're an agent, you're then going to have to re-gear your mind in terms of how you can do more personal face-to-face contact, because that's ultimately going to be the clear decider. Julie was talking about unique selling propositions, or USPs, before. And you'll still need the USPs. You'll still need reasons why people are going to want to do business with you. And we teach all that to you guys in Premier Coaching. But what AI will never be able to replace when it comes to a service. Now, before I was talking about cuckoo clocks, and that's a product. So product-based businesses are a commodity-based business, and whoever sells the best product with the least amount of money is going to win. When it comes to real estate or any other service business, it's a service. And so your ability to, you know, offshore or delegate to your AI agent is what it's called in the space, all of the runnings of your business. And what is that going to leave you to do as a service provider, as a real estate agent? You're then going to spend all your time making personal face-to-face contacts, because that is where the money has always been, and that is where the money always will be. You've got to start thinking in terms of not creating more personal funnels and websites and doodads, because AI is going to, if that's where you're putting all your best energies every day, you are signing yourself up to be obsoleted by every single agent who's going to do the exact same thing. Re-gear your mind to start thinking in terms of actually doing more, human contact. Human contact is the thing that is going to be the ultimate USP from May 2025 forward, because most people, most agents won't want to do it. And if you are willing to do it, have the phone call, meet in person, do the social events, do all those things, more time with humans. You have your super AI that's creating this incredibly elegant business behind you. You will be unstoppable. You see a new idea come around, somebody does a kick-ass single property website. Guess what you're going to be able to do? You see somebody's now doing these elaborate, crazy multi-drone fly around tours. AI can do it too. And you won't be able, how many of you guys have watched a video on YouTube or whatever, and then maybe had a little suspicion it was an AI video? That's happening all the time on Instagram. Most of those videos are AI. How about the ladies trying to sell clothes or whatever it is? It's all AI. And you can barely tell, like 1%, 2%, you have an intuitive pang. That's all going to be gone later this year. What are you thinking, Julie?
Well, what I was thinking is what's different about this development, that's not even the right word for it because it's so much bigger than that. But what's different this time is that everything that you just described will cost the agent virtually nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say, well, I would love to do that, but it's not in my budget. I'd love to develop a website, but I can't pay that designer, or, I don't have that kind of money to invest. AI takes all of those objections away. You also can no longer say, well, I don't have the time to invest in that because AI is going to work while you're asleep. AI is going to, I give it projects of articles and things I'm working on. And I will say to it, I'm going to the gym for an hour. Here are 3 things that I'm working on. What do I need to do to make it better? What are your suggestions? And I come back and it's a lot better than when I left. So your objections for getting things done at a really high level have now been eviscerated. Now it just comes down to whether you're willing to embrace it or not, and at what level. My other thought was at what point, and I kind of think this might be a transition stage, but at what point in everything that you described, so you took them from lead generation through pre-qualification, through looking for properties, all of these things, even pricing. I do have some of my agents using AI now to supplement their CMAs, for example, and find properties that they couldn't find in the MLS. So at what point does the face-to-face come in? Is that, okay, so the AI they pre-qualified, they did the CMA, they set the appointment in my calendar, and now I have to go as an agent, now I have to go and actually present. I
So
think
let me
that's
answer.
what you were talking about, is honing your in-person skills.
So let me answer the question, okay? So when your AI is pre-qualifying the customer isn't filling out a leads form. Your AI, your brokerage AI, is talking to the consumer's search AI and getting all the questions answered. The lead form just instantly gets filled out with all that buyer's information. The questions instantly get answered. That's how it works. Because the AI, like, what's another way of explaining this? It's so much more than any way to really effectively use, common sort of vernacular. But I was thinking, like, it's your super assistant, but it's so much more than
It's
that.
like having an actual conversation with the person. It's not just fill it
But
out.
it's going to run your business. It's going to run your personal life. It's going to oversee the orchestration and the management of every single thing in your life. And again, people are saying, well, that's going to make humans obsolete. I got news for you guys. They have been saying, that this new technology and that new technology are going to make humans obsolete forever. I imagine back when, the printing press got created and people started writing things down and being able to reproduce it and, write books. I imagine people thought, oh shit, well, there goes talking. People are just going to read all day,
Right.
who knows?
Yeah.
Well, but again, it's your mindset about how fast you're going to embrace these things that'll be the ultimate differentiator. And this is so much, the beauty of it is you, and this is the hard thing to express. Clearly, this is the reason I'm working so hard to try to express it, but you're not going to have to understand any of this shit. Honestly,
Right.
you're going to not have to know coding. You're going to have to we got to know what your prompt is. You got to know what this app is and this app is. I got to know blah, 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 blah. You're not going to, and how many of you guys right now are paying for things every single month, technology wise, your CRM, your drip campaign, your all these things where it's just little tiny pinpricks of money being taken from you every single month. And, you're not using it. You don't know whether it's working. You're not holding it accountable. It's just something you put in place. You kind of forgotten about. This one's $10. This one's $20. This one's $100, whatever, but you're not using it. You don't pay attention to it. Well, AI is going to replace all of that because AI. So for example, like I have experimented with this. You could have AI create for you your own custom CRM. CRM companies, in my opinion, are screwed because AI is going to be able to replace all of them. Any kind of any of these agencies, these social media agencies that talk about essentially sell you guys into spending money with them every month so that they can get into their book of secrets and help you get 1 million followers on Instagram and all the rest of it. AI is going to know all of that and more. And so you're not ever going to have to worry about how to master any of it. Now, here's where it becomes a problem is that, so what ultimately is going to make you different? It's the same thing that's always made you different. And I want you to remember this because there's no doubt this is going to be more true than ever. First of all, listing agents are always going to be controlling the industry. There's no two ways about it. Building a buyer-based business or building a brokerage just based on buyer leads is going to be coming. Well, let's just put it this way. How are those leads? How the leads you're buying from Zillow? Let's talk about the quality of those leads. It's because consumer behavior has radically changed. And it's now people are going, like I said, directly to AI, amongst other things. Do a quick Google search right now, or rather, go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT what the trend line is for Google searches starting maybe about a year ago, and it is a reverse hockey stick. And so consumer behavior is radically changing. And who's going to want to go to Google, put in what you're looking for? #1 real estate coaches in America, click it. And that's going to give you all these options that you then have to click a blue link. Oh shit, this was just a fancy lead page. Oh, this turned out it was an advertisement. Nobody's going to want to do that anymore. So what people do is they're just going to go to their AI, and the AI is going to tell them why. And it's going to say, well, it's going to already know you. It's going to know that you're an agent who's been in the business for the last 5 years, that you have got a decent social media presence, that you're wanting to learn how to do more proactive lead generation. You want to work on expireds. It's going to know all these things about you. And then it's going to tell you who the best coach is for you based on what it already knows that you're looking for. And you guys understanding where we're getting at here? And that's where it's all going. It's like your best friend meets the best coder, meets a business manager, meets the truth teller, the person with the crystal ball. I think that's where it's definitely going. So if you're an agent right now who feels like you have a moat around your business, I would start with the assumption that your moat is quickly draining. And that's going to be your social media. That's going to be your SEO. That's going to be all the things you've been doing to lead generate. And even if it's not going to be completely drained, because it won't, it'll be 50% and then 75% drained. And then you're going to wonder what the heck happened. I would start with the assumption that that moat is no longer going to protect you. You can't essentially protect your castle that way anymore. And you now need to start, because everyone's going to do it. And that's a concept. I know we talked about this in our mastermind last week. If you guys want to go to our mastermind, just go to harrismastermind.com. The link is down below, harrismastermind.com. We talk about the 3 biggest challenges agents are having now. But we gave an example. Julie and I created a fictitious agent in Missouri. And it was a gal. And, we created a profile. We did all the things. And then we wanted to see how far we could take it, given the present state of AI. We wanted to then ask it to create, and we did create a social media profile, start lead generating, start creating, motivational /real estate /new listing posts. And it did all of this, and it did it instantaneously. And it started then creating essentially a schedule. This is how frequently we're going to post. I had to feed it little prompts and stuff to keep it in the going in the right direction. But in the future, none of that will be necessary. That means every single agent getting a real estate license anywhere on planet Earth is going to be able to plug into an AI agent who's going to be able to instantaneously make that agent into an online influencer that's going to copy, replicate, and improve upon all the best lead generation social media posts and all the best funnels that agents who are have invested so much money into creating all this for themselves. It's instantly going to become fungible because everybody's going to have the same moat that you guys have, thus making it so there's no moat at all. Does that make sense, Julie?
Well, it does. So let's say that I'm an agent listening to this, and maybe I've dabbled a little bit with ChatGPT, or maybe I use it to make my home brochures, and I'm not completely unfamiliar with this. But based on what you're saying now with your analogy with the moat and all of the things that I've already done, maybe I got some videos and things like that, I recognize I'm no longer going to be impervious. I don't have that built up, at least maybe for now it's okay, but in the future it's going to start getting torn down or potentially torn down. So what would a first or second step be if I've got that level of familiarity? Because I think a lot of our listeners or our watchers, in the case of YouTube, are about at that level. Maybe they've got a business plan that their AI is helping them with, and they're writing brochures, and they're doing some things. But what is the next step would you recommend to somebody that is thinking about this?
Julie's making an excuse for my lack of succinctness, which I appreciate it, because we're all learning about this in real time. And the only thing is that Julie and I can only pontificate on what we think will happen. And so far, I have to say we're pretty good at it. And I think what I just painted would be where it's definitely going. And I look for reasons to believe why I might be wrong. I can't find any reasons to believe I might be wrong. Where we have been wrong, just so you're clear, is we weren't expecting it to happen this fast. It's going to even the rate of change. It's exponential. We're looking at our window and we're watching a big ditch digger in the backyard that we didn't know was showing up. Anyway, so you're going to have from ChatGPT launching to now, it's been 18 months. For like an agent being able to create a single property website to now, and the single property website being really good with a lead funnel, with lead capture, with, some follow-up campaigns and whatnot. That maybe have taken 6 months, but what now is going to happen is the things that we have been used to having take months are now going to take weeks, and then they're going to go to days, and then they're going to go to half days. So you're going to see the technology change and evolve so fast that just because you had a moat that defended your castle for a week, the following week it's obsolete. You're not going to be able to keep up. Your agent is going to be able to do it for you. Your AI agent is going to run your business. So where does this lead you? And this is really where what I was looking forward to getting to. And thank you for reeling me in and keeping it practical, my dear.
Right.
So where does business come from? And we talk about this on our mastermind. Just go to harrismastermind.com. Long story short, and I give this analogy all the time, so just bear with me. Regular listeners or people who have been in the podcast, you're going to have to, weather the storm of this repeated story. Let's say, for example, you today discover you have a roof leak. We live in Puerto Rico. 2 weeks ago, we woke up.
Probably happening now. I don't know.
Exactly. 2 weeks ago, we woke up to 2 inches of water on our floor. Happens. So everywhere. That was a fun Saturday. Yeah, we called it Lake Harris. And, we rang the bell. All of our neighbors came over, but it turned out their houses were flooded.
They're all flooded too.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to Puerto Rico.
Let's just say you need a roofer.
You need a roof leak. All right. Thank you. So you need a roof leak. The roof is leaking. I need a roof leak. And let's say you just moved to Puerto Rico and you don't know anybody. What are you then going to do? So this is a thought process. So the first thing is I have a roof leak. I need to have my roof fixed. What am I going to do? You're going to go and you're going to ask who have I used in the past? Who do I already trust that's a roofer? I'm going to call Rick's Roofing Company, and he's done a great job in the past. And I have Rick come out and fix my roof. And then, Rick's going to come out and he's going to do the job. You're not going to shop Rick. You're not going to go to social media. You're not going to ask ChatGPT. You're not going to look at an ad. You're not going to read a billboard. You're not going to give a rat's ass about Ralph's Roofing. Rick's a good guy. You're calling Rick. Isn't that how you behave now? Yes, it is. So let's say you just moved to Puerto Rico. You don't have a roofing contact. Your roof needs fixed. You have a leak. You're then, I don't know, buddy. Then what are you going to do? You're going to ask your neighbor. You're going to say, who do you know that's a roofer? Your neighbor is going to say, well, I know this great guy. I'll use your Rick again. So I know this great guy named Rick. And then you're then going to call again, Rick's, and Rick's going to come over. You're not going to get the referral from your trusted friend or advisor and then go and, okay, well, my neighbor who I trust is going to, tell me Rick's Roofing, but I'm going to go and read their reviews, or I'm going to go ask ChatGPT. You're just going to call them, right? That's how it's going to work. Or most likely, you're going to then have your AI call their AI and set the appointment up and do the whole thing. That's the way it's going to work. What does that mean? In every study that's ever been done, most people make their decision who they're going to use for any kind of service, not necessarily buying products, but service based on someone that they've used in the past, someone they know, love, and trust, or a referral from a trusted friend or advisor. And Julie and I have read these reports. You've seen these studies, but they've been done since forever, like 50 years, what we're describing to you now. And essentially what this does, it sticks a needle in marketing and advertising, because less than 5%, sometimes it's 7%, sometimes it's 3% of the time, are people making the decision to use somebody from marketing and advertising. Almost everybody decides who they're going to use for a real estate agent or any service provider based on a referral from a trusted friend or advisor or someone who they've used in the past, right? I want you to think about what I just said. Now, the problem has been up until, 5 seconds ago, that you have to spend so much time working on your business, your CRM, your drip campaigns. Did this get done? Did this get done? This is a lead form working. Is RedX giving me the right phone numbers? All these things. You've had to do all this. You've had to not just be a salesperson. You've also had to be an entrepreneur, but you also had to be a business manager. You have to be your own. You have to manage, hire, and fire, all the things that are necessary for running even the tiniest of real estate businesses or any business whatsoever. AI is going to do all of that for you, which means the smart agents are already spending more time becoming closer and building more meaningful relationships with their trusted friends or advisors. You're going to have to, if you want to be different in this new marketplace, no one cares now, and no one will ever care how many followers you have on Instagram or all of your videos, because everybody's going to have the same damn thing, if not better, because AI is going to iterate on whatever the best of breed stuff is now. Nobody is going to differentiate. It's going to become ubiquitous. People will not even pay attention. Are you understanding what I'm saying? So the ratio of where business comes from, let's call it like 93 or 94%, comes from who you already know, and essentially a referral from a trusted friend or advisor. Being someone that people know, love, and trust, or obviously taking care of your current clients so they become great, loyal, referring past clients. That's where the money is going to be at more than ever. What are you thinking, Julie?
Well, 100%. It's going to go more that direction, not less. People are always going to say, who do I already know? And if I don't know somebody, I'm going to ask a trusted friend or advisor. Of course, that's how it's going to go. So your number one job is to be that person that's either on that first tier or on that second tier, so that you have circumvented all of the rest. Now you can back end everything else in your business with what AI can do for you, but you've got to be on the front end of the lead generation. That's the most important thing. And when I look at coaching clients who are not, maybe as prevalent on social media and videos and TikTok and all of the things, and are doing tons of business, that's exactly where it's coming from.
Totally.
It's because it came from a past client referral. It's because they knew them from church. It's because they know them from going to school. Their kids know each other.
But Julie, the problem
is those first two tiers.
The marketers, I'm going to use real words, right? And we're going to use real grown-up words. The marketers lie, because what they'll say is they'll say that, like, I saw an infographic that somebody put out that was truthful about 2/3 of their infographic. And where do listing leads come from? The part that was a lie was they said social media and things like that, because what they're not doing is they're not differentiating. They're not thinking.
They're not saying. They're going to say, well, that's from Facebook. Well, that's because you're friends with them on Facebook because you went to elementary school together, right?
Well, no,
that's still center of influence. Is that what you mean, or something else?
That's what I mean, but let's make sure we're drilling down enough so they understand.
Sure.
So I now know I need to put my house for sale, and I just got a relocation. I've used Julie Harris before. I don't, for some reason, have her phone number. I'm going to go to her Facebook page on my phone probably, and I'm going to direct message her on Facebook, and then she's going to message me back, and and then our AIs are probably going to set up the appointments and do the pre-qualifying, send the pre-listing pack and everything. Now, what the marketers will do is they'll tell you that lead came from Facebook. Well, technically,
no, they'll say it came from social media.
Or even worse, right?
Yeah.
That's what they'll say. And so when you hear these gurus talking about, generating leads from social media marketing, what people are doing is they're using your profiles, or they're communicating with you through the direct message app on Instagram or whatever, as if it were an SMS, or as if they were calling you. That's what's really actually going on. And hopefully you guys are clear about that. So to say, even if you are getting leads right now from a really good Facebook campaign or whatever, that is also going to become ubiquitous, because someone's going to, an agent or 1,000 agents in your marketplace are going to be able to copy your exact programs and do the exact same thing you are. Lead generation for the agents that aren't willing to or don't know how to have direct personal contact with people is going to become amazingly expensive and difficult, because where does that lead you? You're going to have to outspend your competitor to the lead. You're then going to have, you'll be out of business. There's no way you're going to survive. So my prescription to all of you guys is don't be fearful, unless, of course, you thought your moat was wide and deep enough that it was going to protect you forever. Look, your idea worked great for probably quite a while. Now you need to iterate. Now you need to move on. Now you need to evolve. And the good news is what we're asking you to do, which is undeniably the way that things are, the greatest differentiator. People say the difference is agents that use technology versus agents that, don't use technology. You guys have all heard this before, but it's the use of the technology that's going to be the differentiator. You're going to use AI now more than ever, and it's going to run your business and probably your personal life to the extent, if not greater, I'm probably thinking too small, than what Julie and I just shared with you. That means your time needs to be spent in Orange Theory. Your time needs to be spent forming more meaningful relationships. Your time needs to be spent doing more things in the community, doing the PTA things, coaching the softball teams. Hey, guess what? That's a hell of a lot more fun than tweaking your CRM.
That's for sure. Well, what I was thinking of is two practical things that you just touched on. One is, I think that a starting place, or maybe a continuation for some, is to get into the habit of using your AI, and maybe using more than one AI on a regular basis. And your daily practice, you do certain things, right? You pre-qualify clients, you do proactive lead generation, you do market analysis, you prepare for listing presentations. You have all of these things that you do. And many times you're going to Google, or you're going to your MLS, you're going to a million different places. But now if you can start first going to AI and saying, here's what I'm working on, how can you assist me? What are some steps that I'm not thinking of? And just start using it and talking to it as the ultimate assistant that it is becoming. That way it can learn you and learn your practice, and it's not going to be so weird. You can kind of grow together in a sense. Like, I can tell from having used it for a lot of writing that it's getting easier because it knows what I'm after, and it knows our tone, and it knows the theme. So that's one thing. And the second thing, and I am going to do this with my coaching clients, my one-on-one clients, is I'm going to have them use their AI to access all of the different social things that they can be doing. That could be from their different private Facebook pages. That could be from school activities, community activities, all kinds of different things. What's your HOA doing? And create a social calendar so that you can be more face-to-face
Jules,
by about 10x.
But even that, it's going to create a social calendar. It's then going to, it's going to know what's going on. You've got school run at this time, you've got a list appointment at this time, all these things. Yep. And then it's going to go, and if it requires an RSVP for that event, it's going to RSVP for you.
And put it in your calendar and remind you.
Put it in your calendar and remind you what the event's all about. And okay, you guys went from really crazy shit. How about this? So it was probably 3 or 4 years ago that Meta and Google and Apple were all talking about glass, right? You guys have heard all these before. We talked about this in our podcast many times. Well, that technology is right around the corner. And here's what I think is just batshit crazy. So the AI that's being developed specifically, and I've heard this from some very reliable sources with regards to the Apple's glasses, is going to be able to look at somebody, is going to be able to tell you about who they are. It's going to remind you who they are. This is in your CRM. This person you bought and sold with 12 years ago. They're, the 3 kids are all off to college now. They have a new golden retriever. They name, Max, and all these other things.
Yeah, ultimate assistant stuff.
It's going to be able to make it so that you have this super brain attached to your head at all times, which is going to allow you to converse with people even at a higher level instantaneously. Oh, it's also going to say, I've now discovered that these people were just online searching for vacation homes down by Lake Jackson or whatever. And maybe that's something you should be talking to them about, or those types of things. And this is where all of it's going. So we're going to be wired into the AI. The AI is going to be wired into us. And that's going to put us in a position where we can start having these meaningful conversations with folks consistently. And we're going to be able to delegate all the things in our business and our personal lives that slow us down. And I think that's incredibly exciting. Don't allow yourself to arrogantly think this isn't going to affect you, because it is going to affect you faster than you can possibly believe.
Well, it probably already is. You just don't realize it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, look, the most brilliant company maybe in the history of history is Google, and they got blindsided by it.
Search is down 40%.
Right. Is that what it was? Thank you for searching it. All right, that's incredible. So what if your business, which a lot of our listeners, brokerages and podcasts are based on that? What if their business was based on pay-per-click on Google? What if their business, exactly. Probably your search volume and your leads volume is down by 40%. Well, we just told you why. What if, for example, all these things that you built this beautiful mansion around, this beautiful village, town, right? All these things, right? A virtual one, and that's your business and your personal life. Now, all of it is going to have to be forced to change. it's a little overwhelming, but the good news is that everyone's going through all of this at the same time. Like I said, Google got caught with their pants down. So did Apple. I mean,
Yep.
I'm not going to say, hey, SIRI, because my iPhone will then wake up.
Yeah.
But how crappy is that little widget? It's terrible. And they tried to use Chat GPT to supplement SIRI. Nope, didn't know I was talking.
Well, we have an added problem because every time we call our kid named ZOE, SIRI thinks that we're calling her.
Well, it's because we say HEY. If you say, hey, anything, I just triggered it. Okay.
No,
So that's what happens. But all this, be excited about all this. So your big takeaway from all this is knowing that everybody is operating on the same level playing field. And the smaller you are, the actual more nimble you're going to be. Size in this example doesn't give you any advantage whatsoever because you're thinking, well, the big brokerage is going to be able to spend $1 billion and they're going to be able to outpace me and have the best AI. Nah, not really true. Everybody's using the exact same AI. Everyone's at the exact same place. We're all effectively at the starting grid. You can move faster the smaller and more efficient you are. Practically speaking, be thinking about what I said with regards to learning to master direct communication. Do what Julie suggested. Start getting actively involved because everybody else, how many people will listen to this today? Maybe we'll have 10 or 12,000 between YouTube and our podcast listen. There's a hell of a lot more agents out there that aren't going to hear this message. And so what are they going to do? They're going to double down on the digital. They're going to start sticking behind they're going to be keyboard jockeys. They're going to say, well, this is going to be a way for me to have to spend less time with humans, and they're going to lose. You need to reposition your thinking. How can I be in front of more people? Hey, look, it's okay if it's on a Zoom. It's okay if it's on a phone call. It's even better if it's in real life. That's where you need to go with all this. And I'm going to give you something more practical. And this is for all the brokerages and teams out there. 2 thoughts. Number 1, don't hire anybody. Don't hire anybody to be part of staff. Complete hiring freeze. And furthermore, and this is more, I think, maybe subversive, that anybody who's working for you that's receiving a paycheck that is in support of the business or in support of the transaction, chances are very shortly, if not already, you could replace them with AI doing the same exact thing. And I know for some of you, that's going to be a hard thing because you've had Martha working for you since the Stone Age, but Martha probably you're paying her $50,000 a year or whatever. She could probably be replaced with an AI that costs you literally nothing. Start thinking like this, but don't hire anybody unless you're confident, 100% confident that you cannot use AI to do that function, to provide that role. That's number 1. And number 2, understand that the greatest USP in this new world that you're going to be able to experience is your ability to be one of those 2 groups. Be one of the, we talked about when you're looking for a roofer, it's going to be, who do I already know? That I already know, love, and trust that I can use. And then the second source you're going to go to is going to be a referral from a trusted friend or advisor. How can you put yourself in one of those 2 categories even faster? Do that urgently. Your competition is going to be asleep at the wheel. They're creating more TikTok videos of some cat video.
Using Google.
Yeah, or using Google. I'm going to double down on my pay-per-click. Okay, you see what's going to happen? Yeah. People are very, very slow to change. Most people don't make change until the pain of not making the change is greater than their perceived pain of making the change. So I want you to think about what I just said. Don't wait to be in pain. Make the change now. Julie and I are going to keep you guys completely in the loop. One of the easiest ways for you to stay way ahead of the curve is obviously get involved in our newsletter, harrisrealestatedaily.com, and also join Premier Coaching. All the links and all the information are down below. So yes, Julie and I are 100% about proactive lead generation, but we also, it's really unbelievably fascinating how many of our competitors for years tried to pigeonhole us into being, oh, they're just going to tell you to, proactively lead generate and prospect and pick up the phone. Who wants to do that? Yuck. Well, guess what? Now everyone's going to have to do that. And the ones that don't are going to be out of business and replaced by those that are. Whereas before it's the technology that's going to replace the agent without technology. Now the agent that's going to replace the agent with technology is the agent with technology that's actually also willing to do the real work of real estate. Full circle time, guys. Are you really paying attention? Any closing thoughts, Julie?
I think you better get into action on this and not be asleep at the wheel, because in this case, taking longer at the speed in which this is progressing, waiting used to feel like, well, I can wait 6 months. Now it's like 6 days and you have to get caught up. So I don't think that waiting is going to behoove you. And none of this is particularly difficult, but it does take you being frosty and taking action. So start today.
Yeah, that's it. So your homework from today, as with every day, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. It's free, harrisrealestatedaily.com. In the meantime, this was Friday, and unfortunately, we didn't talk about any of the fun topics that Julie wanted to talk about
All right,
because,
we'll save them up.
well, it's because Julie, this is AI stuff is pretty urgent, and
It's
I don't
super
want.
urgent. I mean, I went to as you know, a school meeting this morning, and about half of the discussion was the impact of AI having on these school kids already.
Do you have to
They,
go? Because I have one other question for you. I want to
yeah,
talk
go
about.
ahead.
Okay, okay, bonus session. All right.
Uh-oh.
So at Zoe's school, the school is saying that is making one of her Zoe's teachers said that using AI is plagiarism. And before you
I
answer,
have clarification on all of this
okay,
now,
but
but that's okay.
before you answer, listeners, I want you to participate. Do you think using AI to write for you is plagiarism? Just answer the question. And if you're our age plus or minus 10 years, you're probably going to say yes. But I got to thinking about it. And Julie, you asked the
Sure.
school, you asked the headmaster about that today.
I did. I did. Okay, so they were talking. The topic of AI has come up because and this is not for like little kids. This is middle school and up, right? So they're having to write papers. They're having to research. They're having to develop, being able to think on their own. So the question is, at what point do you consider it to be plagiarism? Okay. And as you said before, all of this is evolving. So I don't think there's a very succinct answer just yet. There's a variety of things. One of the things they said was there's a difference between using AI to research, to investigate, to enhance your reading, to make it so that you can read more in less time and help you think and formulate a really good, well thought out argument or paper or something like that, whatever the assignment is. That's fine. That's not plagiarism. What they consider plagiarism to be is to go to your AI and say, I've been asked to write a 5-paragraph essay about how Roman soldiers operated back in those times. Make sure that it's 1,000 words and 5 paragraphs, and then turning that in. That's what
Okay.
they consider
I'm
plagiarism.
gonna give the
Because
opposite side.
their thing is that was not your work.
Okay. I think it was their work. And I think it's their work as much as if they were, I imagine back in the day when people started using word processors, like you guys, or if you guys are our age, see, Julie and I are in agreement about
I
this.
don't think that's the same.
Well, but it
That's
is the same, in my opinion. Okay. And again, this is not for us to decide. The people are going to
yeah.
work this out.
And it's a moving target too. So
Well, I mean, when you and I were in middle school, when we were just a little bit older than Zoe, we both took a summer school where we had, do you remember, wasn't her last name Herman? This lady's name?
yeah,
It was
I
Herman,
think so.
right?
Yeah.
This enormous, wonderful, no, she was really mean, but she was enormous woman that she was mean. You remember her?
I do.
She taught summer school and she taught how to type. That was as a typing class. Y'all remember typing? Click, 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 click. All right. And so we were sitting through that typing class thinking, this is stupid
Painful.
because I've got a word processor at home. And this is back when Apple computers started becoming available. So a word processor.
Yeah, but it was before like autocorrect, so you had to like type away with your little,
And then you had to go backwards. You guys remember this with your keyboard? And
torture.
then
They
you
don't do
had
that anymore. They don't have to.
and then you had to use a white thing, click, 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 click to up,
White out.
okay. But then you're sitting here typing, and I remember thinking to myself as a kid, I remember this is so dumb because I have at home, granted, it's this tiny little Apple computer with the tiny little green screen, and I knew how to do rudimentary coding on it and whatever. But I got something at home that's going to be able to, help me with my grammar. It wasn't like Grammarly or anything like that, but it kind of made typing itself obsolete. So if I had turned in a typewritten paper with mistakes on it, and back in the day, that would have been seen as original work versus something that had no mistakes on it, had no backspaces, had no corrections, because the word processor turned it out. And it took a year or two, then people just started accepting word processors. And if you start thinking like, well, why is AI plagiarism? And it's not, because if you're asking AI, for example, to write a paper on Roman, alchemy or whatever, back in the day, how they use brass and copper, or just whatever the hell the obtuse topic is, and you've put in the inputs for what the paper is supposed to be about.
But see, that's where the difference is.
No,
Okay,
no, let me
that you
finish.
just crossed the bridge of
Jules,
what
let me finish.
it is
Let
and
me
what it
finish.
is.
Let me finish.
Okay.
And you said I wanted to be 1,000 words, and you say you want it to be. You're putting in the description of what you want it to create for you, and you're not writing it, and then it writes the paper for you, and it writes the paper for you. Is that plagiarism, Julie?
See, that's different. And now you're in the gray area because The difference is the first thing that you described, being able to type something accurately and, go through the edits and all that. That's an editing thing, which they don't have a problem with. Making the paper better, using Grammarly, having your paragraphs sorted out, that's fine. The difference is what you describe is you gave it the prompts. You had notes over here that said, I want to make an outline about this, this, and this. And I want you to not just write about Romans, but write about alchemy. And I want you to use this. You're giving it input from your own brain and you're formulating that. What they're against is having zero thought, having no input and just saying, write me a paper.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you a true story. And I think I told you this before. So I'm a year older than Julie, and I went off to Ashland University when she was still in high school. And turns out, even though I got decent grades in English in high school, I absolutely positively did not know how to use commas to save my life. Did I ever tell you this?
Mr. Comma Splice.
Yeah, I was Mr. Comma Splice.
Yeah.
And I was to this day, I have to think, right? So commas and me aren't friends. Now, nowadays, if I were in the same situation, the teacher would have never known I had a comma splice problem because Grammarly would have been fixing everything. How is that not plagiarizing? How is that not shortcutting learning how to write because the Grammarly is fixing it all for me? I might not even know why it's fixing. It's not teaching.
I think you have a terminology issue, to be honest with you. Plagiarism is simply using somebody else's work and passing it off as your own.
Okay, then why is the AI as somebody?
You're talking about editing, using commas and making the writing better.
We have an actual debate, dear listeners. But Julie, I don't think the AI is a somebody. It's no better than an elaborate Grammarly. Grammarly.
Okay, but that's not the point. The AI is using somebody else's work, and if you don't, okay, so this is again also a point of difference because and the difference of plagiarism is you can use that as long as you cite where you got the information. The problem they have is there was a white paper that somebody wrote about aliens. And you ask AI to just put your name on it and turn it in. That's 100% plagiarism.
Julie, the mistake that you might be making is assuming that what the AI is doing is just cutting and pasting existing work. That is plagiarism. I agree with you from somewhere online, and you're now pawning it off as original content.
That's plagiarism.
That's plagiarism, right? So as far as that goes, we're in agreement, right? But what you're hopefully now, maybe I'm not saying this correctly. Or maybe I'm not saying it clearly enough. What AI does, it doesn't do that. What AI does is it takes what's written and it rewrites it and it makes it an original content. So before
it can.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is that plagiarism?
Well, okay. So now that we're in a whole other category of what's going on out there, which you and I are going to be exposed to, given that we have a middle school kid. Okay. So now people are trying to develop some kind of standard. There's always been, even before AI, there are programs where teachers would take your PDF and run it through and see how much of this is your content. And are you quoting from a book and not giving it citation? And you would lose points for that, right? Because it's not your original work. So now they're trying to say, okay, so if 80% was your thought process and your idea, and the 20% that wasn't, you're giving citation to, then that's not plagiarism. But if I run it through the plagiarism-ometer, and it says 90% of this was clipped from two different sources.
I'm not talking about clipping, sweetie.
That's plagiarism.
But we're agreeing, of course.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is they're trying to develop standards by which they can tell. And one of the things, wait a second, one of the things that they are monitoring is this phenomenon, and we hear it talked about all the time, of AI hallucinations. What is an AI hallucination? It's when it thinks that it's on the same track that you're thinking, but it quotes something that's out here. It's kind of loosely related, but it's not.
That's all it is. But Julie, this is what I'm trying to express to you.
Yeah.
When Zoe comes home from school next year and she sits down to write a paper, and you're going to see her blaze through that paper, some crazy topic, and and none of it is cut and paste from anywhere on the internet. But the AI used the internet sources of established content and then rewrote it. So it found that crazy story, the crazy art, 1,000 articles on Roman metallurgy and blah, 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 all the brass, bronze.
Yeah, that's different.
Okay. And then it didn't cut and paste.
That's different. I agree with you on that. That's different.
Okay, so
that's an efficiency tool.
Let me finish. And so then you could see how Julie and I are gonna have a lot of arguments about this next year.
No, I'll tell you what, they've already resolved how to deal with this, but I'll tell
Well,
you.
but they haven't, because nobody has. This is where I'm going with all this.
Okay.
Nobody has. All right. So then if it then creates original content, that if you were to drop the paper that Zoe wrote into a search engine, and then you ask it to go in, or AI, and you ask it to find if this is plagiarized from anywhere, it won't have found any
Right. Fair
information
enough. I
plagiarized.
agree with you on that.
But Zoe didn't write it. AI did.
No, well, okay. So here's what the process is to take that problem away. Because remember, the ultimate point here is teaching, in this case, we're talking about education, is teaching kids to think for themselves and have logical arguments and be able to have a real conversation about certain content. Okay. So the process now is that they have a topic that they're studying. In the class, they write down, either typing or handwriting in their journals, what their ideas are about that. What is your opinion on this versus that? And they have to use their own brain, and they have to write it out or type it out. And then they do exactly what you described. They take it to AI and they say, this is what I'm working on. Make it better. Help me argue my point better. That's not plagiarism.
Well, but I mean, okay, yeah.
We're on the same page on this. You don't have to.
But it's not, yeah, okay. Well, we are. Let's see. Now we are finally.
It's just going to change in 30 seconds anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
But think about this, Jules. All right. So if you go into AI that creates, there's all these AIs that create amazing, beautiful,
Sure.
pictures and paintings and
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
And you and I know some professional artists, Alec Monopoly, the German guy that created and all these things. And so if we wanted to, am I an artist if I do not know how to draw or paint, let alone anything about art whatsoever, but I know how to tell a generative AI like Dahlia and all the rest of it? If I know how to give it prompts and say, I want you to create for me a painting that combines the this and the other thing that uses this, and then create for me, and then it spits out, okay, here's a sample of what I was thinking based on what you said. And then you go back and say, no, more of this, less of that. And then you go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And finally it turns out a picture. Did you create the art?
Yes, I would say in that case, yes, because you had a creative process there and you modified it and you changed it and you turned it into something that came from you that didn't exist before.
So what value does that hold? Where is the future for somebody that actually knows how to paint? Do they become—
Well, so that's where I get stuck. I'm not sure how that will be seen. Same with music too.
I think personally, the people that know how to write original music and the people that know how to write original anythings,
Paint original.
paint original, all that, those people are going to become the rock stars of the future.
I hope so, because I guess I'm a purist and to me, that is more of a pure process.
Well, it's because all of us have a soul.
Yeah.
And even really, really good AI, if you it doesn't have that, you don't get that same vibe from it. And
they actually made that point this morning too, is that the overuse of it can almost erase the essence of you. They don't want them to become soulless, thoughtless, just know how to type.
But that is
they're trying to develop character here.
But Julie, well, we happen to have as sending Miss Zoe to a really good school. But what you just described is exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's what if there's something to worry about or monitor, that would be it, I think.
Well, but if we reel this back in, and I don't want to necessarily reel it back in, but think about if you're a real estate agent and you're listening to all of this and you're sort of coming to your own conclusions. And let's say you've been, going to this guru and that guru, and everyone's been telling you to create your social. And like I was watching, Tom Ferry on Instagram, he's on my feed, and I was watching him talking about, I've been creating videos since 2017. I'm like, so? I mean, if you get a real estate license now and you want to create a bunch of videos, you're going to be able to go to AI. You could do it now. And you say, I'm selling in New Albany, Ohio. And I want you to go and study who the top agents are, what their top social media posts are. And I want you to create the exact same social media for me. And I want
make them better.
And make it better. And I want you to start iterating on those ideas, constantly monitoring to see if they're doing anything that's getting more views and likes. You're going to do that once. You're going to maybe have to change it, edit a little bit. And then you're going to say, I want you to start posting for me 3 times a day. Done.
Yep. Done.
And then the agent who's been thinking, oh, I'm just going to do more social media, that's my mode. What's going to happen to them?
Nope.
Tell me, what's going to happen to them? You
It's
know,
not going to work out.
it's not going to work out, you know? And so if you're going to use, like Julie uses AI all the time for her outlines and stuff we create. She uses it as her ultimate writing assistant. Like when we wrote the book, when I say we, I helped with the elaborate outline and Julie did all the work, but it wasn't just Julie. She had 3 freaking human editors with her that were holding her accountable to freaking everything.
A content editor, a format editor, and there was even an index editor, which I didn't know was a job, but now I do.
Yeah.
And they did make it better. They absolutely helped me. It was great to have them.
Yep. And all these things, but now AI can do all those things.
Yes, that's
So,
right.
so we could have gone as far as to taken we worked on it together, elaborate outline. We created the chapters, we created the sub chapters, you know, and all the things and outline, and then maybe put some content here and there. And we could feed that into AI right now, and it could write us a book. Now we'd have to go in there and probably add some stories and things and tweak it, but that is kind of incredible. So at the end of the day, the AI will have ghostwritten a book for us, which our book, Harris Rules, is written by us, by mostly Julie, as I said. But the fact is that in the future, even being an author is in question. You know, I listen to certain kinds of books on audio tape, and I like a lot of them. How close? I mean, I like a lot of them because of the fact that they're unique storytellers. How many of them are going? If I wanted to say combine the writing style of my 3 favorite authors, create some characters, start creating a couple chapters, I could then take those couple chapters to a publisher and I could say, I want to write 3 books. These are the characters. I want you to get a flavor of my writing style. Here it is. Here's the da 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 da. And then that's oftentimes how books get published. When Julie and I were looking for editor or we were getting pursued by publishers, and when we were pursuing the publishers we really wanted to work with, that's all they really wanted from us. They just wanted us to submit a little samples, a chapter or 2, just to get an idea of what we were all about. And that's what's going to, and this is so again, full circle here. Again, my 3rd attempt at a full circle. This is the reason I'm not afraid of it, because it's going to unleash you from the laborious crap that you have gotten used to doing,
or procrastinated and not done at all.
Right. And you're going to be able to be set free to start creating more things. And maybe it's not, you know, the world's not going to become authors and painters and poets. That's certainly not going to happen. But you are going to be able to essentially move faster. And you're going to become the best version of yourself as a real estate practitioner, not because you've got the best social media presence, because everyone's going to have it, but because of the fact that you are in front of as many people on a regular basis. How many agents can be listing agents in your marketplace? How many agents can be able to leverage what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know if there's going to be more agents or fewer agents. I really don't know the answers. I could ask AI to kind of do some prediction about that. Personally, I think there's going to be more, because transaction volume, Julie and I had AI create, do a study on that for us. And we think within 5 or maybe it was 10 years, there's going to be a need for something like 15,000 agents, just because of the volume that's going to increase. But it's going to be the agents that are willing to have the real personal contact with folks. That's how you're going to differentiate yourself. So hopefully this conversation was interesting to you. We think about it constantly. We were retooling our own coaching business and a couple of our other businesses. And so we've just gone through the same process ourselves. And Julie, let's make this the actual wrap for the show. Anything else you'd like to say to them?
I get to work, and that's the pod.
That's the pod. All right. You guys have a good weekend. Sorry if this wasn't normal real estate coaching and training, but hopefully it motivated you to start thinking bigger. Have a fantastic day and have a great weekend.